Take a look at this. The vandal, according to the security footage, tried to throw another rock at this back door, but did not succeed in shattering the window, merely hitting the metal frame. Neighbors tell me that they have to keep to themselves around here. Blinds drawn, no friends. Even with this support, there is still that increased tension across the nation between law enforcement and parts of the communities they serve. Ashley, the scene here is clear, but the investigation far from over. Callaway County Sheriff Clay Chisholm tells me that the remains were found on the east side of County Road 311 and that they were a considerable distance off the roadway inside the woods. I'm standing in the middle of 22 acres that American Outdoor Brands is adding to its footprint. Gun experts say that while training and practice isn't required under the new law, it's still a good idea. And it's also, as you can see, pouring rain, which, as you know, is never good to mix with driving.
Tonight, we're digging into claims that Columbia city leaders are misusing taxpayer money. Now, this comes as city lobbies for a tax increase on the August ballot.
ABC 17's Sara Maslar-Donar has been following this story and the accusations made by the Columbia Hospitality Association. She joins us now, and Sarah, the city says the tax increase would fund a new terminal and renovations at Columbia Airport, but that's all.
Right, Marissa, and that's where these criticisms are coming in. So in 2012, the city amended the lodging tax ordinance, and CHA claims it immorally changed that voter-approved ordinance. So I did some digging today to find out if the city really did betray voters' trust. After hotel owners with the Columbia Hospitality Association accused the city of misusing taxpayer money, City Manager Mike Mathis is speaking out, saying the accusations are just politics.
And so there are people that believe that they can make you so afraid of the establishment and so distrustful that you'll vote no.
The CHA claims that in 2012, the city amended a 1999 voter-approved 2% hotel tax increase to include the words economic development, so it could use tourism dollars as a, quote, slush fund.
On their own, in 2012, the city council, the politicians decided they knew more than the people of Columbia, and they changed the ordinance from the ballot issue, which is ethically wrong.
But Mathis says that's incorrect. According to the city manager, and confirmed by a phone call to the Convention and Visitors Bureau today, the lodging tax actually provides two sets of funding, the original 2% and then the voter-approved 2% hike.
One of them is the ballot, but then there's another source that predates the ballot, and that does not have the same restrictions the ballot does. And so when the council took an action, they took an action to amend the pre-ballot language, not the ballot.
And I looked through months of city council minutes and found the discussion on the amendment happened on September 4th, 2012. According to the minutes, the CVB was okay with the change, and its director said hotel owners were notified at the time. And just about 15 minutes ago, I spoke with Terry Weiss with the Holiday Inn, and she tells me, yes, they were aware, but only that Mathis was transferring funds from the CVB to Ready, but not that there would be future transfers or that ordinance change. And she sent me those emails, Marissa and Joey, and I'll make sure those get on abc17news.com.
All right, Sarah, thank you. And voters will head to the polls on this issue August 2nd.
Today, ABC 17's Sara Maslar-Donar spent hours on scene talking to witnesses and families whose homes were hit. And Sarah, residents say it's a quiet neighborhood.
They do, Lindsay. Neighbors are shocked that this gunfight happened at all, especially because it happened right in the middle of a group of children who were playing outside. After a rogue bullet tore through his son's room during last night's firefight near Citadel Drive in Columbia, Dimitri Ward worries his family isn't safe in their own beds.
My son, he's 9 years old, and he's like, you know, that was scary. I don't want to sleep in my room tonight because, you know, I could have died. He's old enough to know that that was very, very dangerous, and that scared him, you know. And I hate to see that happen to a little kid that had nothing to do with that. And it's just sad.
Ward's house wasn't the only one hit. Kyle Bean lives next door to another. He and several other children, ranging from 8 to 18 years old, were outside like usual, and they all got caught in the crossfire. I just have to get this straight. They were shooting over the kids that were right there.
Yeah. Like, there were sparks in front of me when I was first there, and then, like, it was all the way around. I just took off towards the car, and everybody just scattered and went to the houses.
According to Bean, one person or group was across the street, the others next to the house, and both sides were shooting through the children.
I don't even think they're aiming, they're just shooting, you know. They're careless on who the bullet hits. They don't care if it hits kids or elderly people, they don't care, they're just shooting. It's sad. It's sad that people gotta settle whatever they got going on like this and bringing other people involved in it.
Ward says he's keeping his eyes open from now on to keep his family safe, but the family of 6 has been thinking about moving already, and Ward says this incident might speed up that process.
Thanks, Sarah. Police say they have not made any arrests and are asking anyone with information to contact them.
Tonight, a Columbia pediatrician says court documents written by the Highway Patrol falsely indicate she didn't do her job.
Her patient, 3-month-old Kyler Buxton, died from non-accidental injuries in July. His father is charged with his murder in Montauk County.
In a special report tonight, ABC 17's Sara Maslar-Donar sat down with Dr. Laura White to hear her side of the story and find out if Highway Patrol has any plans to investigate.
It's a story we've been digging into for almost 3 months and working to find out why this doctor hasn't been charged based on what we read in a probable cause statement. Tonight, Dr. Laura White is speaking out against what she considers to be out of time and out of context. In 11 years of private practice, Dr. Laura White has treated thousands of babies, but Kyler Buxton was different.
What started to make him a little more unusual was that I got a phone call from the state lab stating that he had a lysosomal storage disease called Pompei's disease.
Then on July 29th, just 3 months after he was born, Kyler passed away. But doctors in the ER at Women's and Children's Hospital said he died not from complications with his disease, but from a, quote, textbook case of non-accidental trauma. Shortly after his death, his father, Christopher Buxton, was arrested and charged with his murder. Highway Patrol investigated the case, and in State Patrol Corporal Reynolds' probable cause statement for Buxton, he indicated Dr. White failed to do her job as a mandated reporter on July 6th, 3 weeks before Kyler's death. Reynolds wrote that White told mother Mary Buxton not to go to the emergency room after she found a bruise on the infant's back because that would, quote, trigger an investigation. White tells me she did tell Mary not to go to the emergency room for the bruise, but it was because she was already in clinic that day and would know the best way to treat Kyler.
I'd rather them see me, who's been seeing him, than him go to some other doctor in the emergency room, see them, who doesn't know his history or anything like that.
White admits she still didn't know much about Pompe disease, so that day, abuse crossed her mind, she says, but so did countless other things that could be associated with his condition.
Pediatricians are mandated reporters, and I would report anything that I ever, suspected to be anything. I worked him up for a reason. I worked him up, I talked with physicians, and with Mom being an EMT and talking to her, a very reliable source, we came up with the conclusions that nothing more needed to be done.
Between July 6th and July 12th, White says Kyler saw half a dozen specialists. Radiologists did ultrasounds of his stomach and back. Lab work was done to look for internal bleeding, injury, or inflammation. In the end, White says the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him as a result of the bruise and decided it wasn't suspicious.
Something else in the probable cause statement is that they put none of the history of this child, none of the workup on July 6th, nothing. I'm not sure they understood what had happened, I don't think they understood the breadth of this child and the case, and the case being not the abuse case, my case of a fussy infant with Pompei's disease, with colic, with reflux.
But Corporal Reynolds also references a text message conversation between Mrs. Buxton and Dr. White. Reynolds' interpretation is that it happened July 6th. According to him, Dr. White references the bruise, saying, quote, something had to have happened, and people lose their temper. But according to Dr. White and the text messages I obtained that show the dialogue between the two of them, that conversation happened, but not on July 6th, and not about the bruise. There are days worth of text that happened between July 6th and July 29th. The day Dr. White says that conversation really happened.
This law enforcement officer is combining two different conversations.
Exactly. And I can understand where you come from. on July 20th and 29th. But on July 6th, I worked that kid up hardcore to make sure that there was nothing going on that I was not understanding, and making sure that the child saw who he needed to see.
The last day Dr. White says she saw Kyler was July 14th, and she was on vacation when she received urgent messages from Mary Buxton about Kyler's non-accidental and serious injuries. White says that's when she questioned Mary and said the words, "Something had to have happened," and people lose their temper.
Trying to get her to be open to the possibility that somebody that she knows very well, which is more often than not who would abuse the child, even her husband. And I even said that. I said, you need to think about it. And that's what that little string of texts was about. But that occurred on July 28th and 29th, those 2 days.
In a written response, Highway Patrol Captain John Hotz said he couldn't comment on open investigations or anything associated with probable cause statements. The Highway Patrol takes any investigation extremely seriously, he said, particularly one involving the death of a child. I also reached out to several prosecutors who told me, according to state law, prosecutors aren't able to charge someone solely based on what's included in a probable cause statement. Spoke with Bill Tackett, a former Cole County prosecutor, who says since Dr. White was not the target of this investigation, Reynolds' allegations will most likely be ignored by prosecutors, and if anything were to be done, a second investigation would be needed.
The recommendation is for a certain crime. And built into the probable cause statement is this kind of an afterthought, okay, this kind of an ancillary allegation that does not have the footing, as I understand it, within the probable cause statement to support it. That would have to be, there would have to be further investigation on that if that were going to be pursued.
Dr. White says she understands the Highway Patrol's goal of finding the person responsible for Kyler's death, but she feels that her professional reputation got trampled in the process.
My goal, in a nutshell, is just to get the truth about how things occurred in the right timing and the right context, because the probable cause statement doesn't do that.
The statute of limitations on a misdemeanor is 1 year, so the Highway Patrol must submit a warrant request and additional probable cause statement for Dr. White in that time. For now, there's no indication she's the target of any investigations. I have much more on this